Welcome back from the commercial break. We are having a critical analysis on the call for education and sports policy reforms. And we continue to ask a question, what are the policy strategies? And my guest, I would wish that you come up with what you would like to leave with us as a package for this morning. What are the policy strategies that can have socio-economic impact on Ugandans? These policy strategies are related to education, they are related to sports. I didn't go to the statistics of how sports all over the world has contributed immensely towards the GDP of nations. And when I'm comparing, at times, you come so critical in your evaluation, and you say that we cannot compare with ourselves with each other, but yet we must be able to go into the inner depths of this. I'm an advocate of social justice. That's where I'm coming from. My orientation, social justice. I'm coming for you. You just pay attention, and then you're coming for me too. So, which is talking about the equal opportunities, equal access, and incidentally, the National Development Plan, the principles, it is 1.3 principles and core values of about impartiality, integrity, and selflessness. It is referring to the principle of transparency and accountability, professionalism, responsiveness, and client focus, partnership, and continuous improvement. I remember you brought that principle of partnership, which was coming out rightly. But the concern that I continue with you, dear guests, me and Mr. Conan Businje, is to look at the state of our education. And we were concentrating, before I got to university, primary and secondary education. We are not saying that nothing has been done by the government. That is we are the station. We are not saying that nothing has been done by the government to promote education and sports. But when we go to sports, it is a serious call. We believe we've not done what it takes, and it should be done, and that was my preamble when we were starting the program, from primary level. Then by the time one goes secondary, the levels of the primo, that's why we can want more primos, that's why we can want more those boxers, who are in that sports, athletics, you're talking about many more others, tennis, volleyball, and so forth. The concentration to achieve this, allow me to say it, seems to still be passive. And the institutions of higher learning you've brought also in our discussion, we've not had a concentration of looking at the courses that are aligned to improve the talents of our Ugandans from the primary level, secondary, and universities, with the designed courses and even institutions, with the sports training centers, either at the district level, institutes, sports training institutes. It is not yet realized. It is still passive. It's not the way how I want Uganda to be in the next 10 years, where we can be praised as a country that is doing well in sports, that transforms the socio-economic lives of the people, and also the education that is a balanced education. That's where we are, and I would like to welcome you back, and we see how we can come up with the policy strategies where you believe that we can.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. I think we ended a bit, got into a break when we were discussing the investment you've done, that has been done by government at all levels of education. You'll find pitches in all schools around the country. Someone obviously that's a defeatist way of arguing out this. Yeah, and someone will think you're just being an apologist, but that's the reality. That's where we begin to nurture the talents of our children, and we think that through those competitions we can pick guys who can end up playing in different Premier Leagues of Uganda Premier League, or even other teams that are playing for Uganda. So gradually people can go through the ranks and get to a national level and play. So we've had some even on the national level and international level. But the only challenge we have that is fundamental is that as a country we haven't done serious investment in sports facilities that are supposed to be used actually for training, where people can compete favorably on the national level, sports, and international level. If you look at the likes of Pt3 and with some of them, it has been their own effort to even get to a level of international level. But government has actually picked interest in what they're doing, and they've been supported with better salaries, better housing, better transport. Some of them will be given vehicles. If you listen to me, you would ask, is that enough? No, because if even your son, while you're in the village, would want one day to be Pt3, what does he have to do? Government indeed has to invest in sports centers, even if they are regional sports centers, which they haven't. Primary, secondary, to be able to get quality education. But here's the fundamental problem. Dr. Lawrence Mugabe, the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University, his argument has always been, and that's exactly what we are infusing in the education system, that right from primary one, you must study the interest of a child. When you study the interest of a child, then you use the competence-based learning to make sure you infuse these skills into a child. And when you do that, you need to give them career guidance and support along the way, connecting a child from primary, secondary, to the real world of life, because there's no classroom that is actually far better than we studied in and we live in. But to do that, we need to be very, very intentional. Now, that's exactly what Victoria is doing, but then you can even replicate this at primary and secondary level. Now, what we've got to do is that from day one, is to do, or what are the interests of my son, my daughter. If my son is interested in singing, or if he's interested in soccer, I should support him from day one, from primary. Where am I going to support him from? We need good academies, we need good sports centers around the country. If it is music, do you have good training centers built by government? So that from day one, I know my child wants this, I promote my child's skills and talents and interests alongside what he wants.
A question as we continue the discussion. Yeah. So far, looking at that gap, do we have any sports academy?
We have sports academies, but they're privately owned.
How many do we have?
They're privately owned, there are few.
And which are of government, how many?
We don't have, I don't think, I know of any government-owned sports academy. If there is one, let me educate me on that, anyone who is following us.
So don't you think it's a challenge?
That's a challenge. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That we need to be building modern, not mere pitches slashed, where kids run and play soccer, made out of banana fibers.
Exactly.
Obviously, the government invests, sends balls to schools and rest, but that's not what I'm talking about. We need to have modern training centers where my daughter from Chibale, from Katakwi, can go, instead of going to a school pond where they're likely to die from, she'll be able to go to that center and sharpen her skills or his skills, even from the early age of primary, of swimming, of singing, of boxing. So that at the end of the day, I can have a young boxer growing up on a government-owned sports center. So by the time you get to secondary, you keep ironing your skills, going for international competitions, and before you know, by the time you get to a university, you're a super boxer who can win world medals. The people who have managed to do it, you see young boys who can ride bikes, get into these competitions, is because their parents have some bit of money and they take them for these trainings. But if you want to create what we call equality in education, you must put their special modern sports amenities and facilities that can be accessed even by the children of the poor, to be able to train. Because one of the things we've done of recent that shows that we can say on an international scale is to actually see the people like Pt3 today and the rest, and the Nzikurus we used to see, right? The things they did, if they had been supported by government from day one, they would be very, very far. And then the question is, how do we build from what these guys have done? Can you support Pt3 as he does these things? By the time he retires, he's empowered, he can start his own training school. Can you support some of the former Nzikuru? If she was a gold medalist, can someone support her to be able to start a good sports academy? Does she have the resources? Instead of just building a house for her, can you get her good coaches with her zeal and energy and name she had, lobby for funds around the country, but with support from government to be able to support several other people from our community, or even from the rest of Uganda who can access our training facility, and we groom young sportsmen? Can we set up centers music centers where you can be, that can be accessed. One of the dreams I had was even to start a music school myself. But I think that still will be so small. Can we find government investment in these things? Other than telling you have music teachers in your school, can we find modern training centers for music with good pianos, guitars, drums, recording studios, where these kids, young as they are, can sing their things and be recorded and be aired, and you groom people in those skills? Most of these countries that have grown, where they beat us from is that they look for a child's skills and energy and build that. They look at their interests and build that. Let me tell you something. You know, one of the reasons why you can wake up and come to this TV every morning, I don't know what your initial childhood dreams were. Mine were journalism, and I can tell you I've worked at New Vision for close to 15 years, and I left, went to State House. Now I'm working at Victoria University as the head of marketing. I have a desire to do marketing, to do communication. That is something I have at heart. That even when you're not paying me money, I will do it. I run my private agency and the rest in communication because I have that as a passion. I can wake up at night and do that. What am I trying to drive at? You need to look at the interest of a child from day one, when he's young. If his dream was to box, if his dream was to dance, he will dance for even no money, but drop his dream. He would spend nights and days working towards his desire and passion. Two questions I have. And very soon they will become very successful people. Our education system has a problem, as I conclude in a few seconds. Education system is that all of you must wake up and musululu moja. We don't care if you love music, sports or anything. Go to what we are saying you should do. Go to class P1 to P7, study all these subjects, then go to secondary, study all these subjects, go to the university, study all these subjects, do examinations where you will request you to recall these things, and if you cannot recall, then your memory is bad, then you consider it to be stupid, then we tell you you can't go to the next level. Those are the people that are falling off and are dropping out of school because we were told they were poor in education. They told them they were stupid in education because they failed to pass an exam which was supposed to be a 1-hour exam, and they told them to recall everything they'd been taught in 7 years. They did not care about their skills. They did not care about their ability to box. They did not care about their ability to sing. Some of those girls who have fallen off and have not done well in P7, when they sing, you might think they are angels that have just visited the school. Now, what if you built their skill when they're singing? You'd have several Juliana Kanyo-Moses, you have several other international Alicia Keys coming out of those young girls you've dropped off and got married just because you did not nurture their talent. The responsibility of every education institution, being primary, secondary, or university level, is look for people's interests and nurture them, skill them, that even if they do not exactly excel in what they studied, they should have their skills developed. That's what we're doing at Victoria University. We look at what your interests are, we develop your skills. If you want to be journalism, then we put you in a real studio, hold the camera for 2-3 years. By the time you graduate, even if you don't get a job at Smart TV, you can start your own communications company.
Let me ask you, may know as you talk about, I did not intended to go to the university education.
That's a complete education system.
I will ask you to know whether your interest in promoting sports, either training, those who can be either under the Department of Education, those who are being trained, either one is a diploma, a degree in the sports tutorship, something. Are you having an interest in that?
Yes.
Number two, are you deliberate through your foundational members to also have an arm of thinking about sports? I mean, the department of within the university there can be an institute of sports, and which is equal to a sub academy.
Yes. Well, I'll quickly answer that. Also know that our foundation, you talked about the Korea Foundation, they were actually trying to put up a stadium next to their school Kampala parents, and the stadium should be accessed by everybody.
When is that?
There are already plans. The construction was on, but they had a bit of issues with Parliament. I don't know how far it has gone. I need to check because I shouldn't be speaking about this because well, that's not. I don't speak for the Republic Foundation. I speak for Victoria University. But you asked me about my foundation. If in anything they are planning, is anything related to the things we can invest in, so they have the resources, is anything they can do to actually support the development of sports in the country? Yes, I can answer it that way. I wouldn't have enough information right now. Probably when I come to the next show, after consulting them, I can give you a comprehensive
program or improvement of new courses. Do you have that part?
Yes, but
with sports.
But obviously, yes. No, not necessarily for every course to have sports. But I'll tell you one of the things we've done at Victoria University. We've put up scholarships. Right now we have over close to 100 students who are not paying us any penny. Any penny. And they are in volleyball, netball, football, table tennis, chess, and several other sports. They come and study. We train them. Some of them are competing in national and our intention is to really be able to look for finish senior 6. I'm very talented. I cannot access our education. We tell them, please come. We give you free education, you study, become a better person. So every evening we have a bus, we used to take them to training centers. We have good facilities at Kampala Parents where we take them to train. And we think that our contribution in giving free education should be able to support some of those young people to become better people in sports.
Okay, thank you for your contribution and maybe what you're able to do. Yeah. I cannot say that you did everything because
we cannot. The reality is that we can't do everything.
I have to be generous within that. And I say, please, I'm not saying you climb and try.
I know.
While going forward, we understand in the discussion you brought up what is needed to be done. Of course, it involves in the government with the government commitment. What has been done these few, the congratulatory messages, the welcoming of people from when he has come, and scored that whatever gold medal. To us as Ugandans who want to, especially in the area of policy reforms, this is not enough. It is supposed to go deeper, and we dig deeper into our pockets. I'm not the first person to think about this. I know some meetings have been held in regard to this. But now, in the process to promote what a commentary I'm bringing in my moderation is how can we realize this? The action oriented policy strategies. That's what by the way talked about from the beginning. How can we realize this? We have 100 and around 45, 49 districts. And the 149 districts, Mr. Conan and the viewers, this is my commentary. To me, I do observe, it would have worked and it is attainable to find that you sample in a whole district, and it is you sitting with the private schools which are coming up, and also with your government-aided school.
Yeah.
And they say, you government-aided school, we are identifying you from senior 1 to senior 4. You will be specializing in this area so much.
Yeah.
We are attaching an academic pursuit, sports academic pursuit, developing the talent.
Yeah.
And then these which are called inspectors of education, they are able to align with the sports teachers. We used to have sports teachers. You sports teachers, you will be able to align yourself, with your student, with the pupils from primary, and be able to understand this skill is being identified. The reason why I'm bringing now the enforcement in my commentary is, you see now you can articulate very well, but I'm dealing with our citizens outside there who doesn't have the literacy level which you have. And yet these talents are supposed to be identified. And also the government to know that, again, some concentration needs to be done. The private schools and the government-aided schools, the deliberate plan to have, at least to begin with whatever we call it, at a constituency level or sub-county level and sub-regional level, to have an academy. The government needs to do all this. It knows, the government knows this. Why is it not being done, and what can be done? Is the talk going to stop here with your good speech?
Obviously, we should also appreciate one factor, that there are limited resources. To start academies and all those facilities, it's a cost. But now that comes to legislators, if there is any legislator, listen to me and your parliamentarian, you have a job to do. Either we tell you that, or you think through it, or you disagree with us, you have a job to do. When you are reallocating resources, think about the people who sent you to Parliament. The Ministry of Education, the sector, needs more money that can be invested in putting up these facilities around the country. And then you monitor the money that you've actually allocated to these areas. That's very, very, very important. But secondly, every owner of a private institution needs to do more investment. I told you at higher institutions of learning and at secondary schools, there are more private institutions than even government institutions. So the question is, before even we spend so much time lamenting and also asking government, what are the private institutions doing?
You see, the government is the regulator. That's why
the government is the regulator. They write to report. They regulate what we do, even private institutions. So as private institutions, what have you done? As a regulator, you're not the full implement of everything.
If you are not doing it, they do have the authority. You know, when I talk about the government, by the way, I always mean in the language of public administration.
Okay, fine.
I always mean the authority.
We agree on the same thing now. Let me make the case. Since they are the regulator, then they do not have to license any institution. They do not have to charter any institution, which does not actually meet the tenets of where we are going.
Thank you. Let's go for the commercial break. We'll be going to the recommendation final in our session. But so far we are on a good page with my brother, Mr. Conan. And we want to face the realities of these policy strategies. And where we pin you, either you are responsible, we are not against you, we are for Ugandans and we are for the global development of the current trend, sports. Why should we always watch Manchester is the best? And you are paying a lot of money to put on this TV, and we are not having time here in our country where TVs are having competition of district per districts, and our sports level is able to go higher. That's soccer and so forth. I'm an advocate for sports that can turn around the fortune of our economy to be an improved economy with a greater GDP, like how America has done it. We can make it. They are not coming from heaven down the earth. Thank you. Stay with us as we meet in the next session.